is Pedro Romero, and I'm a solution consultant here at ServiceNow. And today is my pleasure to introduce two new features coming out with our Vancouver release. One being our zero-touch refresh process, which is going to allow you to streamline your user refreshes. And then we also now are introducing carrier shipment integration, so you can track shipment statuses in real time through these integrations that we have built out of the box. Before we dig in, we do have a safe harbor notice, as we might have some forward-looking statements, so feel free to pause this if you need to. So during the pandemic, our internal IT asset management practice here at ServiceNow built and operationalized a zero-touch process for asset refreshes, and this allowed us to keep a lean inventory by having these asset refresh requests instead go directly to our providers so that they can initiate the shipments directly to our users. This allowed us to significantly reduce the amount of time it was required to manage our asset refreshes, and it drastically improved fulfillment times for our users. So with that said, we've now introduced this as a capability under hardware asset management with our newest Vancouver release. With our zero-touch refresh workflows, users will now be able to request a refresh from the portal, and this would then route to an appropriate manager for approval. And once it's approved, using the service bridge, that same refresh request will get routed both to your instance as an organization for you to track fulfillment, but also to your provider's instance, as we have a lot of strong partnerships with common hardware providers. And what they will do is they will use that same request to go out and fulfill from their end. So they'll ship the asset out to the user along with a box for the user to ship back their old asset. And then once the user receives the asset from the provider, they can simply use the Now mobile app to go in and scan the asset tag to confirm delivery, and that's going to automatically change the state of the asset to in use, ready to go. Along with the zero-touch refresh process, we've also introduced shipment tables to track the shipment of assets through several of our workflows. And with these shipment tables, we also have out-of-the-box integrations with carriers like FedEx that you can leverage to track the location of your assets in real time so that we can ensure there aren't delays to our process and also have more accurate visibility into where our assets are at, even as they're in transit. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into an instance and take a look at both of these. Now, keep in mind, we don't have these full integrations built out in the demo instance, so we'll talk through what we can. But with that said, let's jump in. So starting things off with the zero-touch refresh process, now your users can go in through the service catalog and kick off a zero-touch refresh where they can go in, they can select their asset, and they can select what they want to replace it with based on the options that you provide as an organization. So from here, I can go ahead and select this computer as a replacement model. And then I can determine, is this going to be something that I go to pick up? In which case, instead of shipping directly to the user, the provider would ship it to your warehouse. Or I could have it shipped to the user. In this case, I'm going to click ship. This is going to be where we capture where to ship to for the user. And from here, I could submit, and that's going to open up the zero-touch refresh request. From the back end, from an asset management perspective, that's going to open up a zero-touch refresh request. That's going to track all the stages and tasks needed to complete the zero-touch refresh. So from here, the first task is going to be to request confirmation. And that's where, again, through the service bridge, your hardware provider would receive a similar task for fulfillment for them to start completing to get the assets out to your users. And through synchronization between the two instances, through the service bridge, as they're going through and completing steps and stages through the zero-touch refresh process, that's going to be reflected back in your customer instance. Again, we won't see that here, but you can absolutely work with your account teams to see this in motion. But once that process gets completed, and again, those assets get shipped to the users, that's where they can scan in the asset tag using their mobile app And then as far as the asset that you receive from them, the old refresh device, you can evaluate what to do with that asset, whether it be put it back in stock, send it off for a repair through our RMA workflow, or even kick it off for a disposal. But that's our zero touch refresh workflow. And then, like I mentioned, we have included shipment tables with Vancouver that will now have shipment records tied to anything where you have movement between assets that are in transit, so that you can set up integrations with your carriers to pull in those shipping details automatically. So for example, here, the carrier URL, the status, the pickup date, and the delivery date, these could be all things that are fed directly from your carrier without you having to call or email to get any updates. So it's giving you that real-time visibility. Now, there's a lot of great things between these two features, and again, a lot that couldn't be shown based on the integrations in the demo instance. However, if you have any questions, please feel free to work with your account team, as this is something that, again, internally we take advantage of all the time from a zero touch refresh perspective. And now having those shipment integrations will have that full pulse on where our assets are at, similar to how one would when they're ordering a product online and tracking the shipment of that to their location. But hopefully you guys saw some value from these two features, and hopefully you continue to explore the additional features that were released with Vancouver. Again, my name is Pedro Romero, and thank you so much for the time today.